Hi, welcome to this video how to remotely access your ASA firewall. In my previous video, I spoke about how we can connect IP addresses on an ASA firewall, and we also spoke on security level concept as well when configuring IP addresses. But today, we're going to focus specifically on how you can remotely access your ASA firewall. So when it comes to managing your ASA firewall, the three different protocols that is acceptable or that is allowed is Telnet, SSH, and HTTPS. And we're going to dive into each of those three protocols. We're going to go into how we can configure those three different protocols. But before we go deeper into that, when configuring remote access on ASA firewall, there are two different options. So option one is in-band. What that actually means is that you want to use any of the interfaces on the firewall for remote access. So meaning that you can you can remotely manage this ASA firewall from any of these interfaces connected on the ASA firewall. And if we're using the out of band, which is the second option, that means that we're going to be managing the ASA firewall only from the management interface on the appliance. So those two options are the options you can actually use when you're configuring remote access on your ASA firewall. All right, so let's dive into the configuration itself. I've already done the IP configuration. I did that in my previous videos, but let's just go through some of those IP addressing so that you can just have an idea of how the IP addressing looks like, and then we'll dive into the configuration itself. Okay. So first thing to do is let's check the IP addressing configured on the appliance itself. So do that, show interface IP brief. Okay, so that gives us the IP addresses. I've already configured the management interface on the ASA firewall. It's the same thing. Let's just show on interface management. Just to show interface management. Okay, it's not what I'm looking for. Okay, so this is what I'm looking for. So I've already configured the IP address, and it's quite simple. The only difference here is that I configured that interface to use management only. So this command itself would allow only the management plane functionality, meaning that you can only send management data across that particular interface. And to do that, it's just to go into the interface, go T, and then we do interface management, and then we do management only, and that's it. Okay, so let's start configuring. Let's start with the configuration of Telnet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to configure all the three protocols, and then we just want to test once and for all. So to start, let's do with Telnet. So unlike on the Cisco routers, you have to go through line VTYs and do all the configurations there. But for Cisco ASA firewall, it's not so. So to do that, we just do Telnet, and then the IP address that we're trying to allow, which is 192.168.1. So I want to allow the entire network. So 255.255.255.0. And then which interface are we using for connectivity? We're using the management interface. So we do management interface, and there we go. And so for password, we could just do password, and then we do Telnet. Okay, and that's it. And if you want to use peradventure, we want to allow username, different usernames on the when accessing it using Telnet, we can also do. First of all, let's configure username. So let's do username. We do Telnet. And the password, Telnet as well, and then we do privilege 15, which gives you administrative access to all the commands. and then for us to allow use of different usernames to do AAA authentication, and then we do telnet, and then we do console, and then we do local. Okay, so that's pretty much it for telnet access. So if you want to test telnet, we're going to test telnet with that command. So let me test my telnet from here, and because the reason why I'm trying to test telnet now is because for telnet you can configure telnet and SSH at the same time because you're using the same approach, so it won't allow us to do that. So we just have to use one to do that. So that's why I'm actually testing now. I should have just used any of the three at the same time, but let me just test with telnet, and then we'll go back to do SSH. So this is my client machine. So I'm going to I can use Secure CLT or also use the Putty software for testing as well. Okay, so let me use my Secure CLT for testing. Okay, so I've already configured my session, my Secure CLT, and then let me test. Okay, let me just start from afresh. Close this and then create a new session. And then create a new session, yes. And then test with add. So I'm going to change the protocol. I'm going to use telnet. And then I do next. And then I type the IP address 192.168.1.1. Remember, we're using the out of band option. So we do next. So we do finish. Okay, so you see it's asking me for the username. So I'll use telnet as my username, and then I'll use telnet as my password. There we go. So we are in right now. So we're in using telnet. So we've been able to test the telnet scenario. So let me go back to my configuration. I remove all the telnet configuration so that I can test with SSH. So I just do no. I could just copy this back. And remove telnet. And that will be it. So let me just create another username for SSH so that we can test for SSH. Username SSH, password is SSH. Sorry. Let me just use secure for SSH, and then I do privilege 15 as well. Okay, and then I need to configure my AAA as well so that we could use the local username. Authentication. We do SSH and then we do local. Oh, sorry, I didn't add the console to it. Console local. Okay, so that means I already have that command there already. So let's do show SSH. Okay, so these are also the protocols that can be allowed. So let me do show on SSH just to check the configuration for SSH I have there already. Okay, so I have already configured my SSH configuration already. Okay, so let me do show on AAA. Okay, so I already have my SSH configuration as well test. So let's go test for SSH as well. So let's go back to our client machine and then let's test for SSH. So let me close this. And then now I could check the properties for this and change the protocol to SSH version 2 and then OK, and then let's test with that. Okay, so the environment option is not done, so let me go back to enable that feature as well. Okay, I think it should be on the options here. Session options. Yeah, so I don't have DH here. Okay, log on action. Okay, the environment actors off by default. Address the local connection is turned on by session options, dialog in the connection. Okay, options, session options. Okay, so under SSH version 2, okay. And then we proceed. So let's test again. Okay, so username, my username is SSH. And it should ask for my password. Okay, password now is secure. Save my password. And then do OK. Okay, I think it's secure. Okay, let's go check. Let's go check my username. Show on username. Show on username. SSH. Okay. Okay, so let me just use my telnet username. Doesn't make any difference, just the same. Save the password and then okay. I think we should be good. Okay, let me just go back and confirm, just remove the username SSH. Okay, so let me create another username. Do privilege. Okay, so let me go back and test with my username. Let's just give it a second, see how that works. Okay, so it's still, I think because I saved the username of SSH, that's why it's giving me that. Um, okay, so we're good with SSH as well. There we go. And then the last one now is for HTTPS. So let's go back to configure for HTTPS. So for HTTPS, it allows you to be able to configure to use ASDM. So ASDM is the GUI interface, which is a Java applet application that allows you to be able to manage your application from a GUI perspective. So to do that, we also need to run some commands to do that. So let me just remove the SSH as well. Okay, no, let me leave the SSL. Let me just do HTTP. So we do HTTP, and then we do 192.168.255.255.255.0. Same management interface. And then I have to do HTTP server enable. Okay. Yeah, and then there's one more command. You need to also ensure that ASDM is also the image is also in your flash or your disk. So to check that, we can do show flash. If you do show flash, so in this my image, it's not there actually, but there's a way I've been able to configure it from a remote access point of view, and then I'll still be able to access it. So sometimes to do that, you could just do the ASDM image and then point it to the ASDM image. But I don't have that image in my flash on this firewall. But because I've already enabled the HTTP service, it will allow me to be able to access it through ASDM. So let's go test that as well. So to test that, we have to go through the GUI. So I goes to a Chrome browser, on my client machine, and then I do 192.168.1.1. I need to do HTTPS. Okay, so we install the ASDM launcher. So I already have the ASDM launcher installed already. So I just need to connect to it and then access it. So I have my ASDM launcher installed. It's a next installation. So just follow suit with the installation, and then you point the IP. You add the IP address of the device that you're trying to firewall you're trying to manage, and then let's use our username. Secure. Password is secure as well. And then okay, so we continue. And then we should be able to access the ASDM interface. Okay, so we are in. So the ASDM allow you to configure your firewall from a GUI perspective. So you can configure interfaces, you can configure the same configuration you can run on CLI, you can actually run it as well on the ASDM interface as well. So we just wait for the initialization to be complete, and then we can try to see how the ASDM looks like, and then we can proceed from there. Alright, so the initialization is complete, and then we can check the firewall dashboard. We can see the connection status, traffic that has been dropped, and then it gives us visibility into the traffic, and then we can look at the device dashboard. So we have the information about the ASA firewall, the ASA version, the ASDM version, the firewall mode, and also the flash size as well, and also the memory as well. And then to configure the appliance, this is where we can actually start doing some configurations, and then we can look at the interfaces we have on the firewall. So we have partners, we have the DMZ, we have the security, the internal, and then we have the colocation, all of them, and also the management interface is also there as well. Okay, all right, thank you very much for viewing. I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.